Well, it was funny because we were just prepping a little bit, and somebody said his uncle was Mongo in Blazing Saddles, and then there were like 5 people in the office that were like, his uncle was Mongo? Wait, Mongo? Like, people are really into Mongo. And
Mongo was a great character, an all time character, and he got the part by walking into the office and throwing the chair against the wall and said, "Me want part." That was his audition.
All right, I got stud lineman Ted Karras, who's a guy that I played with in New England, and I was just catching up with him offline. It's so damn cool to see you playing football deep into the postseason every year, man.
I've been very fortunate with some played on some great teams, man. It's been this will be my 4th AFC Championship appearance. Very grateful, and thanks for having me on, Chris. Been a fan for a long time.
Dude, I appreciate you. Just super happy for you. Is there anything like, before we get to Sunday and the whole thing, you have a unique experience because you played in New England. I remember when I got to Philly, like, dudes were like, tell me, what's the secret? Like, what's it like? The whole thing. And it's not quite like that, but there's some pretty cool shit you can learn playing for the Patriots, like, especially right now, talking to younger players. Is there anything you learned there about the playoffs and kind of the way to be that you've imparted on guys?
Well, that the main thing, Bill would always say home field isn't really an advantage. He would put up the stats in meetings and, show scores of home teams getting blown out in the playoffs. I remember that was an early thing. I think he always had a meeting called Playoff Myths. It was,
yeah, okay, I remember that.
The 2 biggest things being home field doesn't matter and playoff experience doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it's true. It was one of the things, like, when they used to ask around playoff time, I was like, guys, like, I've seen guys, myself included, make big mental errors in playoff games, like fuck up in a playoff game. Luckily, nothing ever burnt me. But, like, guy who's been in the league 10 years can make them. Guys that have been in the playoffs 10 times can make mistakes, and guys you've never heard of can make big plays. Like, look at the history of our game. So I think that's really, like, that's an important one because it doesn't matter. Like, experience matters, but it doesn't really. I bet this Bengals team, like a lot of guys before last year, never sniffed the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a really young team too. So this is kind of, everyone's first experience in the NFL in general. They had a deep run last year.
Yeah.
But, they're taking some of that experience here with us, but everyone's grinding it out. It's a fun team to be on. Way different culture than New England.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also, like, the city, like the fan base. I saw you guys like going to the tavern and the game ball and everything. Like, it's just right up your alley too. And it's
man.
but when I got to Philly, it was the same thing where it's like this city hasn't won in a long time, and the feeling is so fresh and so like different than, hey, New England, we've been there. Like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
The
had that
expectations
experience
versus the real hunger of for a championship. Yeah, it's
exactly.
really cool, man. And that tradition that Zach started going to the bars is like a dream scenario, really, after a playoff win.
It's a dream scenario.
And that was a bar that I wanted to go to. That was the first night out. I went out on draft night with a couple guys that I knew that lived in Cincy.
Yeah.
And then this group of friends that kind of works there is in the neighborhood, introduced themselves to me. We've been friends ever since. They set up 200 people there. It was pretty awesome.
That's so damn cool. How loud did it get in the jungle? Was it the loudest you've heard it there when Hubbard returned that fumble?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was electric. I think a stadium record again. We've had 3 of those this year, so that's pretty amazing by the Cincy fans. I didn't even see what happened until he was on like the 25.
Oh, really? You were like getting water or going over something?
I was locked into the iPad. Really what we were preparing for was, a game-winning drive. If they score here, we got to go win the game.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. The Ravens, they're just so tough and they muddy it up no matter what the situation. You guys are such a mentally tough team, and I think a lot of that edge seems to come from the QB too. I mean, like, what's his effect? Like, everybody knows he's a badass and like he's a leader and he's got an edge, but like, how does that literally translate into the way you guys operate?
Well, I think one of the understated points of Joe Burrow is that he performs at an elite level every time he's touching the ball.
Yeah.
You can be a leader all you want, but it is a performance league, and he's probably the best I've ever seen at delivering the ball right to the spot.
Yeah.
But his attitude, his energy, and his relationships with guys, he has his own little, quirks with each guy, and really he's a killer. He wants to go out and win. And, you can see that. I saw it in his eyes a few times. I'm like, oh, we're winning this game for sure.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, the way he walked into the stadium last week in Buffalo, he like bumped into the door, like the door almost fell off the hinges. Like you guys like a 180 or something, but he's just so damn on a mission. And the drip, the swag is impeccable. I just wonder on game day if dudes are like, you don't talk to Joe Burrow on game day. Like when he's over eating breakfast, does he eat alone? Like, is he just in his zone, or is he pretty chill on game day? It's just kind of a folklore thing that he's just ice water in his veins, not saying shit.
Well, he is ice water in his veins, but he's not rude at all.
Yeah, no,
So,
I would imagine rude. I would just imagine like that guy is a stone cold killer this morning. Let him eat.
I don't talk to him till CQ exchange. I give him a little fist bump at CQ exchange. I'm letting him do his thing wherever he needs to get for us. He makes us all look good. So I'm not overly bogging him down with any of my game day needs.
Yeah, well, he can't go out to that tavern. Like he can't walk around Cincy.
No, he can't, and it's. I guess it's kind of sad, but I guess if he's up for it, you have to plan it. You have to plan some security. People would probably be in tears. This city loves this team, and he is obviously the paramount leader of it. So it's really cool though.
I know he might not like the comparisons, but I definitely see the Brady stuff. Like I see, what it was for me initially was like, look at the way he navigates the pocket. Like the other stuff, great. Like, everybody's different. I hate it when they boil people down to be like, oh, he's probably just like this guy. But, like his accuracy, the ball placement, as you put it, like making conversions, you guys are like built so you can drive right down the field. It's not like a bunch of big plays. It can be, but, having that ability. And I thought like in the pocket, kind of his understated athleticism, it did remind me of Brady. Am I crazy? You've played with both of them.
Very, very similar demeanors as far as like you need your QB to be pretty cool with everybody.
Yes.
And I think it's I've been very spoiled with quarterback play in my career.
You've been a little spoiled with QB play.
And it's an interesting kind of comparison where Tom was in his 40s but still a superstar, and Joe Burrow's 26 and a superstar, and they carry themselves. They have great relationship with everyone, like I mentioned, and on the football side of it, Joey B's a little faster than people think too, though. He makes some yards for it.
He's more athletic than Brady. I'm not saying that's the thing. Like, make no mistake about it. Like once he steps up into the A gap, if it's vacated, Joe can pick up 22 yards. Like no problem. I can count those runs by Brady on one hand.
Yeah.
And
he has the ability, like great awareness, like you said. We have a good relationship as far as like our set relationship, protection wise, and he understands all of the schemes and knows where we could be broken down at times and maneuvers himself and helps us out a lot. I think that's one of his biggest improvements this year as we've gotten to know the new O-line and the new system. Kind of working together to eliminate pressures and all that stuff.
The O-line's coming together, man. Like it was tough to see Jonah go down, but like watching Carmen work in the second half of that Baltimore game, he gave up one sack. I don't know if there was supposed to be chip help or what, but like I thought he looked pretty good, and I knew that he'd be up to the task this weekend. What do you see from some of the guys that have stepped up? And then also, like, what are the mechanics that go into, like, literally playing together? Because you guys have been through this at the beginning of the season, too. Like, you have this, like, little dream team in free agency, but nobody's played together. So, like, how hard is it, and what have you seen from the young guys that have had to step up?
Well, Jackson, Akeem, and Max, I mean, they came in, and they really bought in early. Everyone kind of got their role after camp, and they bought in, and really were very hard workers, scout team all year, and when their numbers called, I mean, they delivered a huge performance in Buffalo. I was really proud of Jackson. He's come a long way, from how I met him and, where we started this year and took advantage of an opportunity. I mean, that's carving out a role and playing really well when it counts the most. I think it's a tremendous foresight by our upstairs that they got Max Sharping off waivers, too, in the beginning of the year. He was a 3-year starter in Houston until this year. Obviously, they drafted a guy, but that was good for us because he's a proven starter, and it's been, kind of a plug-and-play scenario for a lot of these guys, which is a testament to Frank, our coach, and also how they've prepared all year to be ready.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you guys played really well together. How was it playing in the snow, man? Like, did you guys eye that forecast towards the end of the week? Is there talk, I know you guys like those big boss shark rubber things that I'm like, how the hell are you digging in with these cleats? But like, is there talk about the footwear? What goes into it when you see on the forecast that we're going to be getting wet weather and it's cold?
Well, as a center, the wetness is always a factor with ball handling. I made sure I had I towel a series because it was icing out. I've never really played in a game where it's snowing and sticking, accumulating during the game, so that was a new experience for me. But it wasn't too cold in Buffalo, not as cold as it's been in the past. But the snow was a factor. We didn't talk too much about it, though.
Yeah, no, it looked fun, though. It just looked so fun. I
was
turned my TV on. I hadn't looked at the forecast. It was like, boom, Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, and a bunch of fucking snow. And I was like, this is just playoff football. I was so excited. O-lineman might not get excited as the fans do when the snow comes down.
The O-line is excited. Center less excited than the rest of the O-line.
You're the guy who's stressed. I bet the rest of the guys are like, okay, you slow the rushers down a little bit. The footing's not as good. But this week, big challenge, Chris Jones, man. When I watched your last game when y'all played the Chiefs and watched it back, every play starts for me. I'm like watching film, and the first thing I'm looking at is where's Chris Jones. It's just like even as a viewer, and I know you guys, a lot of it is going to be like where the hell is this guy lined up? How hard is it to block him? What kind of a challenge is that, and what do you have to do?
Well, I think the first thing you notice about Chris Jones is just how big he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's all of 6'6", very long interior rusher, just about as long as interior rushers have ever been. So, and he has good finesse. He swims a lot, which is a dangerous move, sometimes hard to defend, especially quickly off the ball. But obviously, we're going to be focused on him. They have a lot of other good players too. They got Frank Clark over there on the edge too, who's
good player. Yeah,
always played really well in the playoffs. That's been a big part of his career. So we got a challenge, going up against them. Inside, Derek Nottie, they got a good front, man. They're a good team. This is, kind of turning into a big matchup. The Bengals have played the Chiefs a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and the communication at Arrowhead. I mean, like you guys have to really go through it to communicate.
No, we're gonna have to. Everyone's got to turn their head both ways. That's my away game rule for communication, because you can't just shout into the void. I don't know if anyone's hearing me.
Oh, definitely. We had linebackers, and you just be like facing the other direction, yelling something. No, you got to get in my fucking ear, and sometimes I got to look back there to anticipate the call. And that's
it was nice in Buffalo going up 14-0, 6 minutes in. That kind of tempered the crowd a little bit.
That's huge, right? Because that place was ready to erupt, and y'all just had the opposite effect. And like I know that's a big part of going on the road is like you got to come out and punch them in the mouth.
Absolutely.
This is the fun part. Okay, so like I was looking up who were some of the celebrity fans of the Cincinnati Bengals, and with the long years of obscurity and maybe some losing, but people forget that the '80s were pretty good in Cincy.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some people that like the fucking Bengals, and you can't do anything about it. And there's a lot of cool ones, and I was going to give you 5 of them. First, I was going to ask if you've met any Bengals celebrity fans.
No, I've not. I mean, there's a lot of local celebrity podcasts. Cincinnati has an interesting media market because it's got I would say 10 big podcasts that are just ran by fans. It's
really
very interesting. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. Well, I'm talking about people like George fucking Clooney here.
I was going to guess George Clooney. He's from Northern Kentucky. I haven't met him, but I do love that he is a Bengals fan.
That's good. Okay, we got Clooney. We got Nick Lackey from 98 Degrees. I believe that's 98 Degrees. Right? It's 98 Degrees.
Nick
Lachey. Why doesn't he spell it like Lachey? What the fuck? Hey, Ted, did you know how to spell Nick Lachey's last name?
Let me try to guess. Lache.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, you got it, dude. I mean, like, Nick Lachey's name should be Leshea, in my opinion. Okay, so Nick Lackey from 98 Degrees. You got Woody Harrelson, which is cool. Carmen Electra, which is cool. And then Jerry Springer. Okay, there's 5 of them here. You get to have dinner with one of them. Who's it going to be?
I would have to go George Clooney. I mean, a dinner with Carmen would be exciting, but just to just to talk to George Clooney. He's been the tip of the top of celebrities for so long. It'd be cool to just taste that world for a second.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's well put. That's really well put. Okay, you're a big fan of The Office, like so many in your demo and my demo. I was wondering if I would take a shot at a couple of the characters. You could tell me who might be the most like this character in your locker room. Okay? Let's start with Creed Bratton.
Creed. Man, that's a tough one. It's an insult. Whoever I
Is
say,
it an insult? Because he's kind of crazy enough that you like him, and you're like, nobody fucks with that guy. And if he says anything,
I'm going to go Clark Harris because he's kind of he's the elder statesman, and he's a little bit, he'll get after it.
That's
He'll throw some stuff out there.
That's perfect. Clark Harris is a legend, man. I mean, this guy has been there forever. He probably knows every bar in Cincinnati.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's been to all of them. And he's like Creed. He just sits in the corner and occasionally says something off-putting. Okay, Mike. I have written down here Mike. That's Michael Scott. Who would be most like Michael Scott? Which is also an insult. So we don't maybe want to insult somebody.
I mean, these are tough. I mean, you got.
Okay, Jim. Give me Jim.
Because Jim, man, I would have to say almost Joey B. He's the cool guy in the office. Everyone kind of wants to be his friend, but he's kind of a little bit, you got to work for it to be his friend. But he's still really cool.
Yeah. Like just kind of an observational, like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah,
like
really.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got Dwight.
Man, I would say as far as like crazy antics, I've probably pulled some of the most. I mean, my O-line, we have like a fine board system, and Alex Kappa instituted a TED fine, and it's $50. Right. And it's the only rule is you know it when you see it.
You know when you see it. What? Give me an example of something that was seen and known.
Like, I would say for weigh-in day, I get fined every weigh-in day because I got to bring up 8 water bottles to the morning meeting, to just get that last 6 pounds up. That's a TED fine. Just doing something ridiculous, like chugging 8 bottles of water.
That's perfect. Yeah, I got caught doing it at the combine to try to get my weight up. Tony Sperano, God rest his soul, saw right through it. He was like sitting there in sunglasses. He was like, I noticed you were drinking 8 to 10 Aquafinas in the hall. I was like, damn, this guy's good.
Sometimes you got it, man. I mean, it is what it is.
Fuck yeah, dude. Okay, and then last, Stanley.
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is grumpy.
Over it,
grumpy. We don't have many Stanleys. I would say someone who does get – we have a pretty high-energy team. But
you got a lot of Andys.
We got a lot of Andys. We got a lot of I would say we got a lot of Dwight's enthusiasm too. Even just like looking on the plane ride back to everyone grinding the film and in between the celebrations, walking up and down was great. But Stanley, I would say someone who would get pretty grumpy would be Trey Hendrickson.
Trey's getting older quick. And I think the way not on the field.
Mess with him.
Yeah. But he's definitely a vet now. It's funny. I can remember the kid in New Orleans, like the rookie. We traded jerseys. I was like, this kid's just such a bright-eyed little guy. And now he's just this fucking, he's got war paint on. He's never seen him
He's like a karate master pressure machine. I mean, his little double swipe, knee up.
I love that. And there's no Robert Californias. As long as there's no Robert Californias, everybody's okay.
Well,
so there's no Robert.
That would be front office. Yeah, maybe get in trouble. Yeah, Robert California was a weirdo.
He's way up there. Okay, you're a Big Ten guy. I learned a lot about you today that I just didn't know, like including I knew your uncle played, but I didn't know that he went that Howie Long went the Alex Karras route. That he acting. Yeah, I didn't know that, dude. Holy shit. I mean, absolutely. I've actually never seen Blazing Saddles.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty bad, huh?
You should check it out. It's a classic. It gets it's culturally explicit. For the
okay, I'll get it when I watch it. All right,
it was 1976, but it's everyone loves that movie, man. Very Gene Wilder classic. They were classmates at Iowa.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because we were just prepping a little bit, and somebody said his uncle was Mongo in Blazing Saddles, and then there were like 5 people in the office that were like, his uncle was Mongo? Wait, Mongo? Like, people are really into Mongo. And
Mongo was a great character, an all-time character, and he got the part by walking into the office and throwing the chair against the wall and said, "Me want part."
That's fucking good. That's so good. But the other thing I learned was that you're the 7th person in your family to play football in the Big Ten. Is that accurate?
It is.
So my last question to you, Ted Karras, would be, Big Ten aficionado, how do we feel about the new kids? And, like, can it ever feel normal to have these Conference of Champions teams in the Big Ten?
I think nothing's going to feel normal in college football anymore now that there's some NIL going into it. It's going to be, kind of – I always was chasing the dollar, but I think it's going to be even more exasperated for these teams to team up. And, there's 100, I guess, teams in that league, but really about 25 that are generating the biggest revenue for it. So we'll see. They're all teaming up. I'm interested to see what the SEC does more than the Big Ten. They kind of will control the path that it goes. But I think it's just kind of just big money football now. It's just kind of going to be anything to drive revenue.
UCLA, Illinois every year, or every other year, or however.
I wouldn't mind going to Westwood every other year.
Right, that's the part about it. Yeah. So kick one team out of the Big Ten.
Rutgers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sending this to Devin and Jason McCourty immediately, and Duran.
No, they didn't play the Big Ten. They were in the Big East when the Big East was rolling.
Yeah, exactly. But then they got scared and they ran away. Well, the Big East got.
Just went to nothing.
So, okay, Ted Karras, awesome player, great guy, and dude, I'm just so happy for you again. Kick ass this weekend. We are a pro Bengals pod, so make no bones about that.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time. Won't be so long the next time.
Absolutely, dude. I'm gonna come down to the tavern.
I would love that.
All right, big boy. Hey, it's good to see you. Thanks for the time, bro.
Oh, that was fun, man.
Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.